The default Valorant knife or the default Counter-Strike 2 knives? Of the many knives we have to compare, these are perhaps the most important and also require a reviewer with respect. The default knives are the knives that most people will be using. There are more people without skins than there are people with skins. I'm making that up, but I'm pretty sure that's true. Now, the Valorant default knife is actually pretty easy to like, especially if you're just using it for the first time. It feels quick, it feels hard hitting, the animations feel solid. However, I think the default Counter-Strike 2 knives are an acquired taste. When I first got Counter-Strike, I hated the default knives. They felt like plastic. But after years of playing this game, I've come to love them. Nothing's overdone with the default knives in Counter-Strike. The sounds of the knives are not too loud, the hits aren't too hard, and the inspect animations are super smooth. So I think the Valorant knife is better if you're like a little kid, a little baby or something, and you've only seen it for a little bit. But a Counter-Strike 2 default knife, you're like a veteran. You're like a grandpa that has wisdom. If you fully enjoy the Counter-Strike 2 default knives, you don't just play Counter-Strike 2, you've come to understand it. The Valorant default knife tries to demand your respect, but the Counter-Strike 2 default knives earn it. However, we got a lot more knives to compare because these games are crazy. Counter-Strike vs. Valorant, a classic. The two games are very similar but very different. A Valorant player grew up at the family park playing frisbee, but a Counter-Strike player, he was chilling at the box. At recess, Counter-Strike players played kickball, while Valorant players played at the big hoop. I could keep going, but I think it's time we talk about the karambits. The Counter-Strike Karambit has been a top-tier knife and a staple of the game since it was introduced, or the little brother Valorant Karambit trying to get its name out there by being more flashy and trying to go above what has previously been done. By the way, I chose this Valorant Karambit because I think it's the best one. Now, you may be surprised, but I'm not sure the Counter-Strike Karambit actually is better. If we were talking about Counter-Strike Go, then absolutely the Karambit would be much better. Now, see, in Counter-Strike 2, the Karambit has a little bit of a problem. You see, the thing is, you can't spin it anymore when you inspect it. You can try and spam inspect it just like you did in Counter-Strike Go, but it's gonna keep getting stuck. But the Valorant Karambit has this crazy inspect, which I won't lie, it is a bit much. But compared to the broken inspect on the current Karambit in Counter-Strike 2, I'm not so sure. I think the Valorant Karambit might have an edge on the Counter-Strike 2 Karambit. Now, how it feels to attack and swing the knife is so much better in Counter-Strike 2. However, the inspect animation is so important with this knife that I think that almost doesn't matter. And to be honest, if I could put the Valorant Karambit inspect animation on the Counter-Strike 2 Karambit, I would. Oh boy, it's the butterfly knife. This is my favorite knife. I also think it's the best knife in Counter-Strike 2. In Valorant, the butterfly knife is not bad. It could be a lot better though. Whichever game you have the butterfly knife in, you'll never go bored of spinning it around. If ADHD was a knife, it would be the butterfly knife. If you had to drink the butterfly knife, you would be drinking a giant can of Monster. I would rather fidget with the Counter-Strike 2 butterfly knife than the Valorant butterfly knife. When you use the Counter-Strike 2 butterfly knife, you can do crazy things with it. You get all floppy with it. It's not stiff, rigid, hard, same animation every time. It's a little loose. You're not gripping the knife that hard. It's loose in the hands, soft even. But when I look at the Valorant butterfly knife, the animation is way too fast. First of all, the pull-out animation is garbage. It's not good. But most importantly, the inspect animation goes by way too quickly. I can't see what's going on. What makes the butterfly knife special in Counter-Strike 2 is that you feel like you have some sort of control with the inspect animation. Maybe you don't, but it feels like you do. You can inspect it in a way that you just make the knife move around all kind of crazy, but you see what's going on. With the Valorant knife, I feel like I'm flopping around nunchucks and spinning them in a circle, and I really hate how when the animation finishes, you grab the knife in this way right here. Ew, I don't want that. Put it back in my hand, normally, like you're supposed to. The butterfly knife is a delicate knife. I'm not supposed to grab it like this, like a caveman. The Valorant butterfly knife is actually still one of Valorant's best knives, but it's lacking. It's lacking so hard. It has so much potential, but it doesn't come to meet it. The Valorant butterfly knife is not a complete loss though. It does have one very strong factor, and that would be the sound. Listen to this knife just swinging around. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like that's like ASMR. It's like a soft wind blowing in my ears. I love that. I wish I could feel the wind of the Counter-Strike 2 butterfly knife. But instead, all we get is this dry metal clanky sound. Unfortunately, that's the only strong point for the Valorant butterfly knife. However, there is one more category we have to look at. I'm talking about the big guy category. I'm talking big knives, big blades. This is a category that Counter-Strike 2 just doesn't do so well in. See, Counter-Strike really only has one big knife, and that's the Bowie knife. Some of you might already be ready to type, what about the M9? What about the M9? The M9 is not a big knife, it's just flat. If you want to look at some big knives, we're gonna have to go over to Valorant. Valorant is the king of huge knives. This game has axes, it has swords, it has sledgehammers. I mean, I don't even know what this is. I think it's a sledgehammer. However, to keep it consistent, I had to choose only one big knife to compare to the Bowie knife. So I ended up choosing this one. It's a sword, which is pretty cool. This one specifically is called the Artisan Foil, which if we're just talking about size, the Artisan Foil is much bigger. Now, perhaps the Bowie knife is a bit more realistic. I don't feel like having to carry around a giant sword to go into battle. That is a bit much. And when I inspect the Bowie knife, I do feel like an absolute beast of a guy. Maybe someone that would be in like a Predator movie, just so jacked it's hard for me to move. But that's where my compliments for the Bowie knife are going to stop, because there's one huge thing, one big thing that really holds back the Bowie knife. Such a simple thing, and it actually has nothing to do with the knife at all. It has to do with my left hand. When you hold the Bowie knife, you have one hand out. This is unlike any other knife. You don't feel smooth moving around with this knife. You don't feel like a slick dude. You feel like you got your hand in your pocket. You might fall over, land on the ground, get hurt. But the sword? Oh my god. This thing is beautiful. You hold this thing like you're some sort of menacing pirate. And of course, smartly, your other hand is out there, floating in the air. Does it make any sense at all why you need your other hand out in front of you on the screen? No, but it is required. It's needed. It's on your screen just so you have the reminder that that hand is ready. It's ready to go. It's not in your pocket, lounging. If you are a big guy and you want a big knife, unfortunately, you're not going to have many options in Counter-Strike 2 that make you feel like the big guy you are. You're going to have to go to Valorant, and because of that, Valorant owns this big guy category and takes a huge W with the big knives. Alright, that's about it, so I'll keep it quick. There's still more knives to compare, so if you want me to do some more, let me know. Also, shout out to the YouTube channels that made the Valorant gameplay videos of the knives. I don't actually have those Valorant knives, so those were very useful to use. Anyway, if you want more stuff like this, leave a like, subscribe, join my Discord. Have a good day.